Yeah, I I like to teach that drumming is like a language, right? So it's a language of sound and time and space. Uh, so within that, if you can learn the framework or like the letters, kind of the independence, the coordination, the rhythms, and then you can put that together to kind of make your own communication.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters in That podcast. I'm your host Brian, and with me today is Matt Price, drum teacher in and around the Berg.
Yeah, how you doing?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Good. Thanks for having me on. This is my first podcast interview.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, this is actually my second interview that I did. I actually interviewed a friend who's down in Nashville, tearing it up, living the dream and everything.
Nice.
All right. So why don't we just first start off with just a little introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your style of play too. Like, what kind of style do you employ?
Sure. Yeah, so my name's Matt, and I've been playing drums since I was 8 years old. So most of my life, about 28 years. And I've been teaching for about since 2009. So however many years that is. Yeah, and I teach a lot of different ages, different interest styles, everything from jazz to hip hop to heavy metal. So personally, I've gone through a lot of different bands and styles throughout the years. My early days, like high school and stuff, I was in punk rock. That was kind of my first band, was like punk rock band. And then I got more into heavy metal as I got a little older. Then I started getting more into like jazz, fusion, prog rock. I was in a reggae band at one point. So I've kind of done it all, I guess. And yeah, I mean, I just really enjoy drumming in all different styles. Like there's so many directions you can go with it.
I guess that leads me to my next point. Like, what got you into like music and particularly drumming?
Um, I don't know. Well, when I was, I guess it was like the summer between third and fourth grade, I went on a trip with my cousin, my aunt and uncle, and my cousin. He was a little bit older, and I have this memory of him listening to the Black Album, Metallica, track 2, Sad But True. And I just have this this memory of him like headbanging along to it, and he had like cool long hair, and I thought he was like air drumming along to Sad But True, and he was talking about how like in the chorus it kind of sounded like he was like, it sounds like the CD's skipping because of the drum beat. And I don't know, the whole thing just really got me interested. And I told my parents that I wanted to play drums. And my dad told me that he used to be a drummer, like not super serious. He played in like a kind of a cover band, just sort of casual. Yeah, but my parents were really supportive, and they got me a drum set. And yeah, at first I just kind of banged around. I didn't take lessons or anything for a while. Just sort of like figured it out on my own, and yeah, I don't know. I really fell in love with it though, and yeah, a big part of that was like my parents being supportive but not pushy. You know, like sometimes parents can be like, "All right, well, if you're gonna do this, you have to like take lessons and get really serious about it." So I'm grateful for that they kind of just let me figure it out on my own and kind of go at my own pace with it.
They encouraged having like an open mind when it comes to, particularly just drumming, I guess, if you want to include anything else. Is that something you encourage? I know this is a question. Do you encourage your students to have like an open mind when it comes to drumming?
Sure. Yeah, I like to teach that drumming is like a language, right? So it's a language of sound and time and space. Uh, so within that, if you can learn the framework or like the letters, kind of the independence, the coordination, the rhythms, and then you can put that together to kind of make your own communication. So like if you learn the fundamentals of the language, you can take it in any direction that you want. So it's like, no matter what style you're listening to, the basics kind of come back to the same things. So yeah, I encourage exploration, creativity, but then also kind of like learning the fundamentals, like how to count a 4/4 groove, and I'm a big fan of reading. Like I wasn't when I first started learning it in high school. I was like, oh man, this is too hard. But I do think just like with learning English, it's like if you learn how to speak, that's good. But if you can also read the language and write in the language, it just makes your understanding like so much more comprehensive. If that makes sense.
No, that's very good. And I usually tell this kind of story to people, like how I got into drumming. Mine was actually through the video game Rock Band. Did you ever play that before?
Yeah, a little bit. I was never huge on it, but
Well, now they make it look more realistic now with now the cymbals. They got the hi-hat, ride, crash. I would say
yeah,
that one actually helped me with the music theory in a way, because when you're playing really well, you'd start hearing the fans, they start clapping and everything, so it forms the beat for you. And then it was so strange because it just integrated all up in here, and pretty soon I was able to start, oh, this is how 4/4 goes whenever you start doing a hi-hat and everything. Uh,
yeah.
I guess for anyone who's had that kind of background, I don't know, did you ever have somebody who came to you that started off doing that and then they turned to you for like lessons and something?
I don't know specifically about if it was like a rock band, uh, if somebody was kind of your story, like playing rock band and then being like, oh, I want to do this for real. But, I have had people who just all of a sudden like develop an interest in drumming at like I have a student, a woman who's 67, and she retired like 2 years ago or whatever, and just always wanted to play drums her whole life. And a family friend gave her like a free drum set, and so she's just like, all right, I'm doing this thing. And I don't know, I think that's what's really cool is like you could get somebody might start when they're 6 years old, or somebody might start when they're 60 years old, and like I think no matter what age, like it is really good for your brain, it's really good for your body. It's a lot of like mind body connection. Yeah, so I don't know. People get drawn to it for any number of reasons, and like I think regardless of the reason, it's just cool if you're able to, be drawn to it and then like actually pursue it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Just goes to show you're never too old to start something new.
Exactly. Exactly.
Is she like the oldest person you ever had come and take lessons with you, or?
I know a long time ago. So I used to live up in State College, Central PA,
Really?
before I moved to Pittsburgh. And when I was there, I had a guy who was a bit older. I think he was probably in like his 70s. Yeah, so I think he might have been like my oldest private lesson student. But one of the gigs that I actually do, aside from like drum set stuff, I do drum circle facilitation, and I actually go into a lot of senior care facilities. So some of those places, I work with people who are like in their 80s, their 90s, people who are like pushing 100 years old, and there's something about rhythm that people can really just like grab onto it almost regardless of like age or ability, or if they have like physical limitations or something. Like a lot of people can just really sense the beat.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I guess what makes your teaching like so much different than like some of the other teachers in and around Pittsburgh, or I guess anyone you've talked to, other teachers you talked to outside of the state of Pennsylvania?
Yeah, good question. Well, I don't know. I mean, like, so I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and so while I was there, I got to study with a lot of really good drummers. The first person I had for private lessons is this guy named Ian Froman. So people can look him up on YouTube. He's cool, but he studied with Elvin Jones, legendary jazz drummer, and a big part of Ian Froman's teaching was like carrying on the legacy, carrying on the tradition of jazz drumming and like American drumming. And I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from a lot of the teachers that I had there. And the main thing being kind of this like language concept. That seemed to be the biggest thing that I kind of gathered from everybody, is like learning the fundamentals of how to play, all the 16th note rhythms, all the triplet rhythms, being able to do that with all your limbs, and then like being able to combine it. And again, like regardless of style. So there's like that Bruce Lee quote about style, where he says like, we have two arms, we have two legs, and within that, like, if you crystallize the style into something specific, like saying like, oh, I'm just a rock drummer, or I'm just a jazz drummer, then you're kind of missing the big picture that like it all can meld together, because you're just using, your four limbs to create sound. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. Actually, that was a real good answer too.
Thanks.
I know. Actually, I was trying to think of the next question. Trying to phrase it correctly. Growing up, I guess, which drummer, or I guess drummers, however many you want to say, because I know there's always a good big. So you grow up with like big guys like Neil Peart, rest in peace, as well as Keith Moon,
yeah,
all the rest of those guys. Which drummer or drummers like influenced you growing up, and I guess still influence you today?
My first favorite drummer when I was in 4th grade was Trey Cool, Green Day, the Dookie album.
Oh,
yeah. I was really enthralled with that sound and that style, just like the fast 8 notes on the hi-hat, a lot of energy. Yeah, he was my first big favorite. And then a little bit later, like 5th, 6th grade, I got into Korn. Like the first 2 albums, I think the first one's self-titled, and then the second one's Life is Peachy. I got really into that. The drummer David Silveria was his name back then. And then in high school, I got into like John Bonham, more classic rock kind of stuff. And then I got into Danny Carey and Tool, who's coming to Pittsburgh actually on Tuesday, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, Danny Carey is definitely one of my top 3, probably, like him and Bonham. And then jazz drummers like Tony Williams. I really like Tony Williams a lot. Jojo Mayer, Mark Juliana, Matt Garska, Animals as Leaders. And then, like, I don't know, Vinny Colaiuta. Yeah, the list could go on and on. But also, I'll give a shout out to some of my teachers from Berklee, because people might not recognize these names. Like, I mentioned Ian Froman. Rick Considine is a jazz guy from New York. Dave DiCenzo is a complete bad man. Dave DiCenzo, I took one double bass lab with him, but I learned so much from him. He's just like his brain and drumming is insane. Who else? Rod Morgenstein, who is the drummer in Winger. He teaches at Berkeley, so I took some lessons with him. Yeah, those are probably the big guys that I can think of right now. But I mean, you know how it is. It's like influences are always kind of changing, and like sometimes I'll be more interested in jazz drumming. Sometimes I'm more interested in crazy like Virgil Donati. I don't know if you know that guy. Just yeah, he's really nuts.
No, really. It's funny you mentioned Trey Cool because I play on that Dookie album just for fun at times, and just doing Burnout and then playing that drum solo there, it definitely burns some calories too. That whole album itself, and even the crazy breakdown near the end of Chump. I guess it's like it's like playing like the triplets or something, and then Trey's just playing back there, and then it's like it all just falls apart at the end. But it's like so badass.
That's the one that segues into Longview, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's good stuff.
And Longview into Welcome to Paradise.
Yeah, Trey Cool. It's interesting that Green Day, like, they have such a longevity, because when I first started teaching in 2009 was right around like the American Idiot 21st Century Breakdown kind of time period. So all the teenagers and kids were like really into that album, and it was kind of cool for me, like starting teaching, and like the young kids are like still into Green Day. And even now, like I think they just put out an album recently. It's like
I think it was Revolution Radio or something.
Yeah.
I think that was it. I know they did like a compilation of all their greatest works. I think it was God's Greatest Band, or God's Favorite Band. Sorry, God's Favorite Band. Yeah,
Green Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, they're cool. I really still like think of Trey Cool as a very early big influence, but you know, I don't really listen to them anymore. No. So sometimes I listen to the Dookie album. I actually listened to it on a road trip driving up to State College recently, because I just kind of wanted to like bring back all those memories from those songs. Yeah.
I know She, that was another good song. And that was a hell of a good one to play. It's funny you mentioned bring back the memories too, because recently, as part of my drum cover project, I started doing Silverstein. I don't know if you know that group at all.
Yeah, maybe if I heard a song.
I know. It felt good just like rehearing it again. It's like, man, I wasn't even a teenager at the time, and then when I started listening to it, at first it took a little while for it to catch on. I think that's how it was usually with like metal or any sort of music. But then it starts coming to you afterwards, and you start loving the music. And I know that's how it is with like the metal I've kind of got into too. And I guess the big thing I want to say is, how many like other artists have you like gone back to like listen to and like reminisce about the good old days? I guess top 5. Just to get the list short.
All right, top 5. Rancid. No Effects. Korn's first 2 albums. I'm gonna Limp Bizkit. Yeah, right. And then I recently went back and listened to this heavy metal album that I used to really like in my early 20s. This band called Unearth. They're from Boston area. Their 3rd album, it's called In the Eyes of Fire. I think it's their 3rd album. It's just really heavy. It's like brutal breakdowns, you know. And sometimes I put that stuff on when I'm like driving, because I just want to be like get pumped up, you know.
Speeding 10 miles over the speed limit. No wait.
Yeah.
Take it to 100.
Left lane only.
Flying past everybody. And here come the police.
Oh boy.
Yep. Recently, I did mention Silverstein. Another one for me was Armor for Sleep. Was another one.
Okay.
Story of the Year. Let's see. Those were like I think those were the recent ones I did. I'm trying to. And
Is that like kind of early mid 2000s sort of like pop punk kind of stuff or emo stuff?
It's a little bit of the. It's a little mixture of the alternative metal and stuff like that, and
Okay.
some influence of pop rock and stuff like that. Uh, I think of the other two. I don't know. Those were the top three right off the bat. I know me and Uncle, we talked about Alice Cooper, and I guess he talked about a recent pickup he got with Detroit Stories. Did you listen to a good amount of Alice Cooper and incorporate any of the drumming styles that their drummer was doing into your playstyle?
No, not really. I only knew the Alice Cooper songs on the radio. As far as classic rock, my my dad was really into Chicago and CCR, the Eagles, Pink Floyd. So I heard that stuff growing up a lot. Um, yeah, I don't know what. Like, it was kind of cool. I mean, my parents, we had a little radio in the kitchen, and it was on 24/7. My mom, like, always left that little radio on just for background noise or whatever. So growing up, like, I heard a lot of that, like, 50s, 60s, 70s rock, pop, um, I don't know, soul, R&B, just all that stuff you hear on like the classic rock radio stations. So I heard all that stuff growing up. The Beach Boys, the Beatles, Temptations, Elvis, all the classic stuff. I'm grateful for that my parents were like, had music happening in the house all the time.
Did they have a lot of CD, like a giant CD collection and a big shelf, like anywhere in the house?
Not really. There were some CDs,
Vinyls.
some records. Somewhere my dad has a crate of vinyl. I gotta track that down because I got a record player for Christmas, so I've been kind of like on the vinyl thing again.
Yeah, I know. And I think my dad actually said he had a live version. I don't know if it was 10 years 10 years after. I think that was the band. Hope I said it right. Because I know they're probably gonna criticize me on the comments for that. uh,
Yeah.
I think I'll look for that, and I know my dad's played it a couple times. But moving on, tell us a little bit about your set. What'd you start off with, and I guess where are you at right now?
My drum set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually sitting at it, believe it or not, so I can show you too. Um, my first drum set was a Tama. I think it was the Tama Swing Star. My dad found it used. It had Zildjian cymbals, and I played that drum set till high school, and then I bought a Pearl. I got a Pearl Export in high school, and then when I was in senior year of high school, I bought this drum set that I still have today. So this is Tama Star Classic Maple, 5-piece. Here, I'll pick. Yeah. Yeah,
I got
so
the cymbal on the snare too.
yeah, this is a little Zilbel thing. But yeah, this is 14 by 5.5 stainless steel snare, 10 by 9, 12 by 10, 14 by 12, 20 by 18 kick, Zildjian K Custom Dark Ride 20-inch. This is a Meinl. What is this? The Extra Dry Thin Crash 18-inch. These are Benny Greb sand hats. And then over there, I don't know if you can see it. That's like I have a second drum set over there that I use for lessons. And I have a custom Master Sound hi-hats over there and the 17-inch K Custom Dark Crash. I have a couple other cymbals floating around too that aren't set up right now, like a Zildjian China, a couple splashes, the Zilbel.
Yeah. Cowbell?
I used to. I lost it. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where my cowbell went. I gotta get another one.
Yep. He's got a fever. He needs more cowbell.
Yeah, I know. The drum room is not complete without a cowbell.
Always need one.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't think that Saturday Night Live, that episode would never get old. Just they're doing the Don't Fear the Reaper, and they got the cowbell playing in the background.
Oh yeah, Will Ferrell.
Was that him?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's classic.
I love it.
I got a fever.
I got a fever. And that was Christopher Walken. I do remember Christopher Walken.
Yes.
Saying that.
Yep. He was the producer.
He's coming. I got a fever, and I need more cowbell. That sort of thing.
I gotta have more cowbell.
Would you like to do a little drum solo right now? If you're in the mood for it.
Oh man. I could play a little. Well, tell me how it sounds, because I'm just using the computer mic.
It should be fine. It's not gonna.
It might be a little clippy.
It probably will, but don't worry.
Oh man, an on the spot drum solo. All right, I'll do my best.
Just improvise.
Yeah. How's the volume?
That's pretty good.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Sorry if it clips for the audience there. Yeah, this thing's. This thing on the snare.
Yeah. Dude, that was bad.
It's kind of helpful in this room too, because this is a pretty small room, so it's pretty loud in here. I got some moon gels on the toms to kind of soften them up a little bit.
Oh, cool. Do you got like
yeah?
You got bass traps in the corners there, or any sort of
Yeah, I do. Yeah, those green things you see behind me, I actually got those for free. My friend, before I moved here, he was like, I don't know, remodeling a house or something, and the person had all these sound traps. So I got like 6 of these. There's one right here too. I don't know how well you can see that. I got it covered up with something, but like. They're like the triangle-shaped ones, and then I also got a couple like panels for the walls.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That actually sounds kind of like a steal too. If you left all those panels and the soundproof stuff there too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was cool. It was a good find.
Are those the Vic Firth sticks you were using?
Oh yeah.
I love those.
Yeah, Vic Firth 5A. Classic.
Oh yeah, I rolled those too. I think I'm starting to get on my next pair pretty soon. The other ones are starting to break.
Yeah, this one's getting a little
chippy.
Too many rim shots.
Years of abuse.
Yeah, Vic Firth. I used to use ProMark until college, and then all the cool people were using Vic Firth, so I switched, and like. I've tried ProMark again. Like students sometimes will have ProMark sticks or Zildjian or I don't even know what are the other brands. Vader. But to me, the Vic Firth sticks have the best weighting, the best balance, the best rebound. And yeah, I don't know. I'm like, if I were to get endorsements, like, I don't know what way I would go on cymbals. Like, I would take an endorsement from Zildjian. I would take an endorsement from Meinl. I'd probably go with Tama, but like Vic Firth all the way on sticks, man. I'm open to other cymbals and drums, but when it comes to sticks, I'm like, nah, only Vic Firth.
Only Vic Firth.
Yeah.
Have you ever played on a electronic drum set, kind of like a Roland?
Yes, the place I used to teach in State College, I taught on a Yamaha DTX electric kit.
Oh, really? What?
It was I forget what series it was. It wasn't like the super high-end one, but it also wasn't the cheapest one. Yeah.
What'd you think of those? And I guess this kind of leads into the second part of my question. Do you prefer electronic drums, or do you prefer the acoustic style?
Definitely acoustic drums. I mean, electric drums, I guess, are good, like, if you live in an apartment or need to have some kind of like quiet rehearsal practice scenario. But they don't have the same feel. It's like kind of, I think, weird to learn on an electric kit. Like I've seen this with kids who have an electric set and it's the only thing they ever play on. When they do finally play on an acoustic drum set, they don't really understand how to like hit it, because like an acoustic cymbal is so sensitive to how hard or soft you play it. And with the electric drums, you only have like a range, really. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I would always recommend an acoustic drum set if you can manage it, like spatially and volume-wise. I know it's a lot, but like, I think, you're not gonna get the same feel and sound, even with those really nice electric kits. Yeah. I think acoustic's the way to go.
I think the best one, or I guess the best reason for electronic sets, is due to like tuning. There might be other reasons that people might say, but I know tuning has been one of them, since you don't really have to worry about tightening everything in and around the set too. I guess talk about tuning on an acoustic set. I guess, is it a little bit tricky at first, and then you start picking it up over time?
Yeah, I still don't feel like I know how to tune drums. Honestly, there's a bunch of videos on YouTube about how to tune, and I think if you kind of watch those and take an amalgamation of everybody's technique, you'll figure it out. But I don't know, just like playing, like you do kind of have to practice tuning, because with a guitar, it's like you have one knob to tune the string, whereas on a drum, like any lug that I tighten is going to affect the other lugs. So it's very like sensitive, just tweaking one lug a little bit changes the tuning. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, I just kind of try to trust my ear. I'm actually really happy with the way these drums have been sounding lately. They've kind of like settled into this room, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I think they're very like together. If I turn the snare off. And like if I play two at the same time, it's got a nice harmony.
Can we get a little George of the Jungle?
Yeah.
Watch out for that tree.
Yeah.
That's actually
yeah, tuning though, I don't know. Some guys' drum sets sound so good. They're just like, how do you tune it like that?
Especially when you're getting ready to go into a studio too. Like you, obviously, if you got a good amount of experience, you've been doing it a good chunk of your life, probably good chunk of every day of your life, I should say, I guess you start to realize, like, okay, this sounds good with this guitar and bass and everything while we play it.
Yeah.
Still, boy, that sounds like it would be tricky still. I know I was goofing around in a cover band for a couple sessions, and that was the first time playing on an acoustic set for a while with me, because I roll in TD 25K, and it's been my way of like just playing and also doing my drum covers and everything.
Yeah.
I would say when I started playing on it, they didn't have like the little screws on top of some of the cymbals. So even though, sorry, actually I hit that. I know when I was hitting the cymbals, they're like spinning around all over the place. I'm thinking like, this thing's gonna fly off here pretty soon. Flying disc of death going off pretty soon.
Yeah, seriously.
It was short-lived, but even still. Go to some of your YouTube videos. Some of the ones I've seen, it looks like you break down how like some of the songs are played. I think the recent one was Black Dog by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
I guess talk a little bit about that, and I guess what do you want your viewers to take away from your videos, YouTube or really anything in social media?
Yeah. I got into making videos kind of a while ago at this point, and at first I have some videos that I've taken off of YouTube, like some of my first things. But yeah, I originally got into it to just kind of like have some supplemental stuff for my students to kind of go through, basic rock beats and drum fills and stuff like that. And then, I don't know, I just saw other people doing lesson videos, like Mike Johnston is one of the big ones, Orlando drummer. There's so many guys doing it. And yeah, I mean, I thought of it as a way to, market my drumming, like my teaching style, and get some videos out there, hopefully get some new students from it all. And yeah, I do it when I can, or like when I have an idea for a lesson that I really feel like I want to do. So for a while there, like the beginning of the pandemic times, I went through a period where I put out a video every week for like 3 months or something. Yeah. And then I just kind of like, I don't know, it petered off a little bit. And now I just kind of do it when I can or when I feel like it. And I enjoy it. I mean, it's nice to kind of work through an idea and then put it all together and put the video out and like see if it gets any traction. That Black Dog lesson video is, that one's actually gotten a lot of views, which is cool. Like right now it's at, I think, like 23,000, which is cool. Yeah, I didn't expect that, but it's weird now too, because that was one of the first videos that I did, like when I started getting back into it after, like, during the lockdown times. And so going back and watching it now, I have a little cringe, because I like know now if I redid that video, like I could do it better, because I've learned some different, like I have this lighting now, which makes the videos look a lot better. And, just kind of getting better at like talking on camera and conveying the information and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I mean, I think one of the big things that I try to do is like, the thing about drumming or any instrument or anything really is like, you have to practice. Yeah. You got to put in the time, and there are better and worse ways to practice. So like, I try to give people productive, practical practice strategies, because I think, you can hear a song like Black Dog or whatever and like try to just learn it, just keep playing along with the song over and over, and like eventually you'll probably get better. But if you can start to have strategies for like breaking things down into smaller pieces and ways to work with, more complicated rhythms, or like something that has like a ton of layers to it, having strategies for how to practice, I think, is like the big important thing for everybody who's learning.
Absolutely. I guess since you mentioned COVID, I guess we'll jump into that. I guess kind of explain what it was like pre and I guess even still during, even though we're slowly starting to get out of COVID.
Yeah.
And spring and summer coming around the end. I guess walk us through, I guess, how you had to change your strategies up pre and then during the pandemic.
Yeah, well, I moved to Pittsburgh in August 2019. And when I moved here, I didn't have a lot. Like, I just kind of moved here because I wanted to change things up and get out of state college and start something new. So when I moved here, the only job I had was a part-time after-school position at a charter school. So I wasn't even really doing music. I was just kind of like getting my feet wet. And then I started teaching at Sunburst School of Music, which is in Squirrel Hill. And I got that job like right at the beginning of 2020, January 2020. And I was there like 2 nights a week, started to get some students, was teaching a couple band classes, like group programs. And then so I was there for like 2.5 months, and then the shutdown happened and everything went online. And I was like, of course everybody was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it was tough because I felt like the first like 6 months in Pittsburgh was I was trying to get things off the ground and make it happen, and then like I finally got the teaching job and things looked like they were going well, and then everybody got smacked in the face and the world turned upside down. So obviously that was really hard. Fortunately, I have this space in my house. Like, I got this whole room just for drumming purposes, which is really great. I mean, had I not had this space, like if I was living in an apartment in the city or something, that would have made things way more difficult because I have this room. I was able to teach online. And then I was able to like start making some of those YouTube videos. And yeah, learning how to do the drum lesson thing online was interesting because like it's kind of different when you can't be playing at the same time, like with the interfacing through the internet.
Yeah.
You can't play together, and then sometimes like it can be hard to tell what's happening because it's like, I think I'm hearing you hit the bass drum, but I can't see it in the video, so I don't really know. Like, yeah. But I use this program. It's called MuseScore, which is kind of similar to what's that program called? Finale. Here, I'll share my screen here. I'll show you real quick.
Okay.
Let me see if I can do this.
Hopefully we can do it.
I think so.
So you were still able to keep a steady income even during the pandemic?
Yeah, well, let me see here.
There we go. Okay, there we go.
Is it working?
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so this is MuseScore. It's an open source program, so anybody can download this. But I started using this a lot for doing my lessons online because it's really easy to, create something on here, and then I can just save it as a PDF and like send it over, whatever. Either way, folks can check out MuseScore. It's a good program for any instrument, right? So you can do full scores on there of, a whole orchestra piece if you wanted to. I just use it for drum set, but it has tab functions for guitar and stuff, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I guess recently, have you been able to open up? You have students coming back in. Everyone's perhaps wearing a mask. Some are maskless and stuff like that.
I have a couple students who come over here to my house. I do a few online, but most of my teaching is actually at Sunburst now. So I'm there 3 days a week, and I have about 30 students there. And then I just have a handful that that I do private lessons with. Some of them are actually people who used to do lessons with me in State College, so they just do remote on Zoom, which is kind of cool. Like, I think that was the one big positive takeaway from the pandemic was like, oh, like, could have been teaching online all along.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I never realized that I could do this from home. So yeah, like whenever the pandemic started, I like reached out to my former students, and I was just like, hey, everybody's stuck at home. I'm doing lessons. Um, so that was a positive, I suppose.
Yeah. And that also allowed you to take off on YouTube too, because that's how it was for me. Since I had a lot of free time after my regular job, I just decided I'll give YouTube a shot. Unfortunately, not the same success as what you've gone through, but we're slowly working up there. But I think one of the things I really wanted to do with starting this podcast was to get to know other musicians, particularly drummers too. But if there were
Yeah.
cover bands and stuff, I wanted to get to know them. And then as we slowly call out of this, because it's safe to say the last couple decades, they've had their turbulent times of financial crisis. You got the wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, now all this crazy stuff happening with the pandemic and Russia and all that. So it's really also meant to be like a beacon of hope. So I guess one of the things I wanted people to know is what sort of message could you share with people who want to be your drummers or any particular musicians? What sort of message can you give them?
I think if you're interested in it and you find a joy in playing, then it's really about just like sticking with it. Because there can be a learning curve, right? Like maybe you think you want to play drums and then you try it out and you're like, whoa, this is actually kind of hard. And it's like, yeah, it is hard, but then it's rewarding when you learn something, or like you learn that first rock beat and you're like, oh, nice. Now I can play along to Back in Black or Another One Bites the Dust or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, music has so many positive aspects to it, like from the learning to growing to also just like the community element of, if you get into a band and start performing and you're like, playing music in front of other people, that's a whole other wild experience that's really awesome. Like there's something like if I'm playing a drum beat and people start dancing, I'm like, I'm making you do that. Yeah, I think, the main thing, just keep practicing, keep playing, follow your interests. Like if you hear a style of music, just like explore it, find different artists, go back in history and listen to the old stuff. Cause like all the new music, is inspired by what came before. So go back, like I listen to a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but I listen to like classical music periodically just to kind of check it out. And like, it's good sometimes as a drummer to listen to music that's not like rhythmically heavy. A lot of the classical stuff is more flowy and the beat is not quite so strong. Yeah, so I don't know. Hopefully that answers that question.
Absolutely. Hopefully somebody could take something away from that too. But all right, down to the last couple questions. So, do you employ like any other instruments in your classes? Any like percussion instruments, tambourine, stuff like that?
Well, not so much with the drum set lessons, but if I'm doing a drum circle, then yes. Like I've got a bunch of djembes, and I have like small hand percussion things, some tambourines, shakers, I don't know, go-go bell things.
Cowbell?
Yeah, I got to get a cowbell. That's
Back to the cowbell.
you've inspired me.
No cowbell.
Uh,
Fired.
yeah, I got to get one. I'll put it right here on my hi-hat.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, with the drum circle thing, I'll use different instruments sometimes. That can be good for like if there's really little kids who maybe don't want to hold a drum or can't quite do that, they can like use the shakers, and that's really good for like really little kids to be very like in a lot of body movement stuff, you know, is really good for them.
This one kind of goes down maybe a little personal, but this was actually a question I asked one of my friends when I had interviewed him a while back. And I asked him as music as a source of redemption. Like, say you came out of a drug issue and probably got out of prison and stuff like that. Did you ever have a story, or I guess someone who became a student who came from maybe a violent past, out of jail, stuff like that, and they perhaps came to you as for music purposes and like changed their life and they thanked you for it afterwards? You have any sort of story like that?
Not that comes to my mind like right away, but I mean, so with the drum circle thing, I go into these senior care facilities, and working with those people is really great because they're very, they really like appreciate the service of coming in and sharing music, and you know, working sometimes with people who maybe are struggling with dementia or Alzheimer's, like the music really brings them to life. Like put on a Frank Sinatra song or Elvis or something, and like they come to life, they start singing, they start moving their bodies to the music, and like a certain life comes into their eyes. And that's, you know, and like I feel like, you know, I'm there to facilitate it, but it's not really me that's like causing that to happen. It's more like I'm just creating the space to allow it to happen. So like the music is really doing the healing, right? And yeah, I mean, you can find that all over the place, of like music therapy, music as a healing tool, or like, you know, sometimes you put on some heavy music because you want to let out a little aggression, or sometimes you need to relax, so you put on something really chill, and it's just really cool, like looking into the neuroscience of music and how it affects our brains and our bodies, and just starting to see how like specifically playing an instrument is just like so good for so many different parts of your brain, and they're all like working together at one time. So it can, yeah, I think it can have some really powerful impacts on people. If anybody's interested, there's a really good book called The Healing Power of the Drum. And it's basically this drum circle facilitator guy who wrote a book about all these different experiences he had with just like seeing people transform and heal and have powerful, you know, experiences doing drumming. The Healing Power of the Drum. That's a really good one. And then, yeah, just looking into the neuroscience of music in general is cool, like if anybody wants to go down that route.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Down to the last question, and this one I'm actually going to turn to you. And my question to you is there anything else you would like to talk about? I guess anything else we want to recommend, or something to get off your chest?
Something to get off my chest. I don't know. I have a band. We're called The Deep Casual. If anybody wants to look that up. We actually don't have any music on the internet right now. We still haven't like recorded. But we have like an Instagram, you know, with a couple live videos and stuff. Yeah, people can find me on Instagram, Matt Price Drumming. or my website's mattpricedrumming.com. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I appreciate you reaching out and asking me to do this. This is cool. My first podcast experience. Yeah, looking forward to like sharing this out on social media with people. I did watch the other interview that you had. I think I went to YouTube or something. Was it on YouTube?
It is on YouTube.
Or
I shared some of it on social media, but the full episode is on YouTube.
Cool.
It was an hour long.
Yeah. Well, I hope that I hope you're able to get other musicians on here and kind of make like a little community out of this, because it's cool. I think getting into doing the podcast thing is like a interesting endeavor, right?
It is. I've always considered it kind of like just get on there and just talk with people and just try to think of whatever questions come to mind, as well as a little script at times. It's best to have a little script in front of you.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Right. Don't want to run out of things to say.
Yep. All right. Do you have anything else you want to add before we close out?
You
guys any last hopeful message that you want to?
Oh, a hopeful message. Yeah. My big thing for my personal life is like the world is crazy, and like life throws challenges at us all the time, and like I think it's really easy to become distracted because there's so much happening, right? Like there's so much information. If I go on my phone right now, it's just like, I could scroll endlessly on social media and keep being bombarded with like, news, information, stuff that I'm supposed to buy to feel better about myself. Yeah. And what I find for me is like, the more I can stay focused on like taking care of my body, taking care of my mind, and staying focused on like what I can control in my life. Like, all right, so I can wake up today and I can play some music and try my best to be present with people and teach them. The better I feel. Like, the more I focus on what I have control over, the better I feel. The more I let myself get carried away with like everything that's happening out there in the world, the worse I feel. Yeah. And so I think, change starts internally, right? Like Gandhi said, be the change. So it's like, if you want a better world, then I have to become a better version of myself every day. And like, some days are better than others, right? Some days I do pretty good. Some days are not as good.
It's just one of those things. I gotta go to bed. I just can't take this day anymore. Something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, some days are hard. So it's like the better I can focus on doing my part, doing my work, then that makes me feel better.
Well, Matt, I really want to thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone. This is your host, Brian. This was the All Music Matters in That podcast. My guest today was Matt Price. Make sure you check him out. He's got his own website. And check him out on the socials and hit him up, too. He's looking forward to talking with you. Matt, thank you so much again. Stay safe.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. All right. See ya. Bye.